Alright, another week of newly released comics. Let's get at it. Of course, spoilers ahead because that's all I'm going to be talking about. Also, I just wanted to say that there are a few comics I didn't pick up that I wanted to get, and I'll let you know what those were at the end. So let's jump right in. So DarkHold Black Bolt number 1. This story threw me off. I didn't know anything about Black Bolt before I read this, which probably isn't the best way to introduce me to this character, but whatever. The cool part about these DarkHold stories is that they give you a small summary about the character's origins before you read. So whatever alterations to their origin stories that this comic tells can somewhat be compared a little bit. This story had me interested as I read it, but once we get to the twist in the end, it sort of plays out like something I've seen before in a movie or TV show. Let me try my best to describe it. So Black Bolt is a king, and he has a brother named Maximus. Maximus wants to coup his way into power, so he makes this plan where he disguises himself as Black Bolt by using a machine to change his appearance. Being held by the royal physician against his will, but eventually Maximus has to change his memories with that of his brothers in order to get by this method of being able to tell who the imposter is by their memories. So now we have this Black Bolt character who is actually Maximus, but is left torn wondering who he actually is. Personally, I think this was kind of stupid, but sometimes I appreciate stupid. Next one, we got the Trial of Magneto number 4. Oh man, what is happening in the story? In the last issue, we see Wanda's mysterious killer. At the very start of this one, we get to see the actual resurrection of Wanda. Apparently, she resurrected herself. It wasn't a random group of mutants led by Magneto, as we were led to believe in the previous issues. So here is where I start having questions. Well, first of all, why did Magneto change outfits? Not really story related. Or is it? He just out of nowhere seemed to have jumped into his traditional look. Is this supposed to be the artist or writer's way of conveying a sudden change of character? A change where he is suddenly evil? I don't know. Whatever. Back to the main point of this comic issue. So, here we discover Magneto wasn't behind Wanda's death. Apparently, her guilt over her past has caused a future older version of herself to out of nowhere kill her. And that very same guilt is what is causing this kaiju attack on the island. She eventually comes to terms with her past, and suddenly the kaijus are much easier to defeat. Oh, and we have the 3 different Wandas helping to defeat the kaiju. Young, present, and old. After the fight with the kaijus, the Wanda's merges with her past and future self. At this point, she has regained all of her memories. All of this was done with her magic. Her faking her death, the resurrection, and the kaiju attack. Like I said, it's explained as her feeling guilt about her past, but it seems like the next issue she will give a more thorough explanation. I don't know, but so far the writing in this run feels off. Let's go, Venom number 2. This is what I've been waiting for. Here we have the continuation of the new Venom series with this second issue. So far, I'm enjoying it. There isn't anything new on the status of Eddie Brock and what happened after his death, but we do get to see more of his son with the symbiote. At this point, his son Dylan is being hunted by this organization to take the symbiote away from him. And his dad, Eddie Brock, sent him a voicemail telling him to go see this person named Archer Lyle, supposedly to help Dylan get off the grid. But as he is walking along, they realize he is being followed. He walks into the alleyway to try to get away casually, but at this point, he is cornered. The organization starts attacking him, but at this point, we get Venom coming out of the shadows and following up with an attack of his own. But of course, they know how to handle an inexperienced kid walking around with the symbiote, so they toss a sonic mine at him to fuck up Venom using sound, of course. At this point, Archer Lyle reveres herself by saving Dylan from the attack, as well as explaining how he was being tracked for a while now, and at this point she offers her assistance. Not a bad issue. We get the introduction of the Life Foundation working together with the Senator to remove any symbiote threats, as well as the character Archer. I'm still very curious as to what happened to Eddie Brock after his death. I can't wait to keep reading this one. Alright, Batman Fear State Omega number 1. I've been talking too much about Marvel comics. Sorry, I'm a little biased, but I do like DC comics whenever I do get them. Anyways, Fear State Omega, the final conclusion that wraps up the Fear State series of Batman comics. To be honest, I'm probably the least qualified to talk about this comic because I didn't follow a single one. All I read was the Alpha and the Omega comics. So literally the start and the beginning. Oh, and I also read the few character origin side stories, the Secret Files ones for Miracle Molly and Peacekeeper 1. And I thought those were great stories, but this comic basically takes place as Batman is personally driving the Scarecrow to his prison. And as that is happening, the writers are letting us know the happenings of the characters involved and what is to come in the next series of Batman comics. I remember reading the Alpha comic and seeing the huge checklist needed to understand the overall story, and it felt discouraging having to keep up with every single piece of the puzzle. Maybe someday I'll get into the Fear State comics, but not today. This is definitely a must-read if you have been keeping up with the Kardashians, because it's just a conclusion to the story. There are a few comics I really wanted, but my comic guy didn't have them. He owns like a small shop and just orders whatever he thinks is gonna sell, but I do make order requests, so whenever he doesn't have anything that I wanted to pick up, I just have him order me some. This week was the side stories for the Death of Doctor Strange with Spider-Man and White Fox. I was looking forward to reading those, but if I care enough, I'll probably talk about the entirety of the Death of Doctor Strange story in a video or two. That's it for today. Thanks for listening to me talk about my personal comic pickups for the week. I think you'll notice there aren't many DC stuff here. And yes, I am biased, but I do pick up certain comic runs that DC releases, which there weren't many of this week. I would pick up and talk about Action Comics or Detective Comics, but those are released weekly and each are like $5 a piece. And a motherfucker don't got that kind of dough to be spending weekly. Anyways, thanks for watching and I'll hopefully catch you next time. Have a great rest of your day.